Great. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. For some of you this evening, we really appreciate you all being here tonight and discussing a very hot topic around social media and social emotional learning. So this evening, we'll be talking about part one. And before we dive in, Sarah, if you mind clicking to the next slide, we're just going to go over some quick housekeeping items. So we'd love to see all of your beautiful faces. If you can put on your camera, amazing. If not, no worries. We completely understand, especially with us talking about something like social media and technology. We also understand that technology doesn't always work in your favor. So if you're not able to have your camera on, no worries, but we would love to see you if you are able. We'll have a few opportunities for interaction in the chat, some whole group discussion. So if you have a notebook by you, some pieces of blank paper and a pen, great. This is just a great way to kind of jot down some of your thoughts or notes throughout today's forum. We are going to have one opportunity for breakout rooms. We just ask, because the breakout rooms will most likely be 3 to 4 people, we would just love for you, if possible, to have your video on, to be unmuted, and to engage as much as possible, because this is really sort of the idea behind these forums, is to get everyone in the same space where we can talk with one another about these really important topics and connect and share different ideas. Stay engaged and present. We always just love to hear any ideas, thoughts, questions that you have throughout this forum. So please don't be shy. Feel free to unmute yourself or add any questions or thoughts you have to the chat box. If you can, just in terms of background noise, if you can keep yourself muted when you're not talking, that'd be super helpful for us. Chat box, like I said, to any questions you have, add those throughout. And then we do get this question, so I just wanted to make sure everyone knows ahead of time, and we'll remind everyone again at the end, for those that join late, that we will send the slide deck, a recording, and a certificate for the hours, which will be sent via email afterwards. Okay. Quick introduction. So my name is Ellen Sarkeesian. I am the Director of Social Emotional Learning at Generation Schools Network. I come from a background of elementary school, so I taught both 4th and 5th grade in Denver public schools. I was extremely passionate, being a relatively new teacher, about this, how we can address social emotional learning and trauma-informed teaching in the classroom. I did not feel like I was set up for success when I went through my certification program, and I felt a huge need for it with my students. And so I pursued my master's in learning sciences, which is the study of sociology, psychology, and learning sciences. So it's all about sort of the science of how students best learn, and really focusing on the whole child and social emotional learning. So that's kind of what led me to where I am today. I work on specifically social emotional learning at Generation Schools, and we're across the states. So we work in places like Arizona, Ohio, the state of Colorado, and I'm very passionate about this work. And now more than ever, it's so critical in our schools. So I'll now let CJ, my amazing colleague, introduce herself.
Well, thanks, Ellen. I'm CJ. I come with a background in health sciences and coaching. Just like Ellen said, I have a lot of passion for kids and learning and elevating and setting them up for a happy life. I'm a director here at GSN for Creating Healthy Schools, which we do some wellness planning for districts, and also for our Empowering Education curriculum that kind of partners up right next to our GSN SEL curriculum. So it's been a really great thing to kind of implement this in schools and support. And this topic just aligns with everything that students and teachers are dealing with in the classroom. So I'm really excited to sit on it today.
So we all introduced ourselves. We now want to give you a chance to introduce yourself if you have not already. So again, please feel free to add your name, role, school, and location to the chat. And then we have a quick sort of warm-up activity, welcome warm-up activity, because we're on the topic of social media. What emoji represents how you are feeling about the start of the school year? So you can go ahead and add that emoji to the chat, or if the chat function it should have, when you click on the chat, an option to choose an emoji. If not, you can always include a description of the emoji as well. A good one, CJ. Okay, got the sunglasses. Feeling good. Christine. Upside down, yeah. So an emoji that represents how you're feeling about the start of the school year. Oh, we've got, it looks like someone added this. It's not in the chat, but a whale. I'm seeing that in the participants list. Thumbs up.
Oh, cool. Yeah, thumbs up. Nice.
Big smiley face. Okay, so it seems to be pretty positive. That's great.
That's good.
I know things can always feel a little chaotic and hectic with the, I think A Brown just put a perfect emoji to that. Just things feeling a little overwhelming starting out. Definitely. Yeah, I'd probably say that I felt all of these emojis the start of the school year. Oh, we've got a big wave. Someone put that in there. Crazy face. Yes, definitely. Well, thanks everyone so much for contributing to our welcome activity. It's helpful for us to all get a sense of where you are at the start of the school year. So, quick overview of what's to be expected for today's forum. So, we are going to do a couple of things, actually first focusing on ourselves. So as adults, where do we sort of stand when it comes to social media use and how it shows up in our own lives? So we're going to take a quick survey on our own perception of social media. We're going to explore strategies for healthy social media use, and then spend some time in breakout rooms discussing the current reality of social media in our classrooms and with our students. So next week, I wanted you all to be aware. So we are going to have a part 2 to this topic because it is so popular and there's a ton of information that we want to share on it. So I just wanted to, and we'll share the link to register at the very end of today's forum. But next Thursday, the same time, 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we are going to have 2 guest speakers from CU Denver that focus a lot on social media and how it affects teens. So we'll talk about the neuroscience behind social media, strategies to start implementing SEL as it relates to social media, and then talk about ways in which we can start implementing this kind of work in our classrooms. So to get started, like I had said, we want to spend a lot of today really thinking about ourselves and how we show up when it comes to social media and how we interact with it from a day to day. So we believe at Generation Schools that when it comes to social emotional learning, that it's really important to first focus on us, right? Ourselves as adults and how we show up in this space. Because if we don't do the work, right, it's hard to show up authentically for our students. So we want to spend time asking ourselves the same questions when it comes to social media and how it affects us positively or negatively. So before talking about these kind of topics with our students, let's take some time to reflect ourselves. So I really like this quote at the very end here. We start by looking in the mirror. We must reflect on how we use social media ourselves. What is true for our students is also true for us. So with that, social media is everywhere. It is just our current reality, right? Whether we like it or not, it is in our lives. It is very much present. Woody has such a great face. And honestly, like it's kind of interesting to see both expressions, right? You've kind of got the like happy, excited, positive face. And then you've also got like, oh, the really concerned, overwhelmed as well. So I for me personally, I'm not sure how the rest of you feel, but I definitely think I've experienced both of these emotions when being on social media platforms and using them myself. So we're now going to take a quick poll. And this is and it's all anonymous, but we want to just kind of see from the room where we're all at with when it comes to social media. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this poll. And maybe CJ, will you give me a thumbs up just to make sure that you can see the poll? Okay.
I think it's showing.
Getting a thumbs up.
Yeah, but Ellen,
Yeah.
it's showing our results from when we were practicing. Can you reset it?
Is that what
maybe because I've already taken it? No, it looks like people are taking it. Never mind.
Perfect. Just want to make sure it's working. So we've got 3 questions. How often do you spend on social media a day? Number 2 is, do you feel that social media has more positive or negative effects, or maybe neither, right? Neither positive nor negative. And then the last one is the role I think social media plays in my life. So 5 being you're highly impacted by it, and 1 being kind of unimportant. So give everyone a minute to complete that. Okay. Oh, Kevin, it looks like Kevin he's on his phone, so he doesn't have access. No worries, Kevin. Thanks for letting us know. Okay. A couple more seconds to finish up the poll. All right, let's see what we are working with. Can everyone see the results? Yes? Okay, awesome. So it looks, we've got, okay. So for number 1, how often do you spend on social media a day? It looks like the majority of people about 2 to 3 hours. And then next up is 1 hour or less. So this group does a pretty good job of spending in terms of their hours of social media usage. This is pretty good. 8% is never used. So about 1 in the room has never used it. That's great, or doesn't usually use it. Number 2 is, do you feel that social media has more positive or negative effects? It looks like majority, 58% of us said that it has negative effects. 33% said neither positive nor negative. And then lastly, the role I think social media plays in my life. So it looks like people are kind of right in the middle there, with about 17% saying unimportant. Okay, so thanks everyone for filling that out. I'm now going to show you some statistics of where on average the American adult is, kind of their own perception on social media use. And it'll be interesting to see where that shows up versus our own sort of poll here that we've done today. So if Sierra, if you click to the next slide, and we'll stop sharing the poll for now, just so it doesn't get in everyone's way. So Pew Research Center began tracking social media in 2005, when just 5% of American adults used at least one of these platforms. By 2011, that share had risen to half of all Americans. Today, this research study was done in 2021. 72% of the public uses some type of social media. So you can see on this graph here how much we've increased when it comes to social media usage. And again, this is just adults. So this is the percentage of US adults that are using at least one social media site. Okay. And then our next piece of data. So this is how often Americans use social media sites. So for many users, social media is part of their daily routine. 7 in 10 Facebook users and around 6 in 10 Instagram and Snapchat users visit these sites at least once a day. So when we had brought up that first question on our poll, how often do you spend on social media a day? We were all kind of, majority of percentage is 2 to 3 hours, right? We're looking at about 70% of users for using something like Facebook are using it daily. And it's interesting to see too, just with the average adult, what platforms we are on more so than others. So when we look at student data, and a lot of this will come up in our part 2 session of this work, is that we're kind of looking at other platforms, right? Like things like Snapchat and Twitter. But from an adult perspective, 70% are using something like Facebook daily. Pretty high number, right? And then our last piece of data. So the question around, do we feel that social media has a positive or negative effect on us? So from our group today in the poll, we had 58% of participants say negative. In the Pew Research Center, majority of Americans, 64% of US adults say social media has a negative effect on the way things are going in this country today. So again, majority percentage of people are saying that this has a negative effect on us. So we're going to talk, CJ is going to kind of guide us here and talking a little bit more about the negative effects of social media and how we can approach this, because going back to the photo earlier of like social media is everywhere, right? It's not going away. It's a matter of how we approach social media and how we can use it in a positive and both healthy way. So I'll have CJ take it from here.
So we're going to watch a short clip on from Bailey Purnell, and she does a really great job of at this part of the clip. We encourage you to watch the whole thing. I think she speaks really, really well on all social media and the psychology and how it affects us mentally. But she really touches base on how really does social media or anything that you're doing on a daily basis affect you emotionally. And a lot of us, especially younger generations, think it's harmless, but it really is affecting us more than we realize. And she touches on some things that we can do to start improving that and shift things a different direction. We're going to touch a lot about this today. As Ellen said, we kind of want to like look deep into us, and those that aren't on social media. I think that's great. Don't start. But it has become such a tool. It's connected us with family. It's connected us. If you've had a small business, it can really elevate you. So it has become a tool that we do use and some people need, but how do we regulate it? And how do we set the younger generations and generations to come to regulate it appropriately? So if we can see her start this next clip, we'll just watch a few minutes of it.
I think you might need to share your sound, Sierra. Oh, there we go. There it is. Perfect.
And everything to do with social media. What do I mean? I mean, social media is neither good nor bad. It's just the most recent tool we're using to do what we've always done: tell stories and communicate with each other. You wouldn't blame Samsung Television for a bad TV show. Twitter doesn't make people write hateful posts. So when we talk about this dark side of social media, what we're really talking about is the dark side of people. That dark side that makes harassers harass, that insecurity that makes you take down a photo you were excited to share, that dark side that looks at a picture of a happy family and wonders why yours doesn't look like that. So as parents, as educators, as friends, as bosses, this dark side is what we need to focus on. We need preventative strategies and coping strategies so that when you have your low days, because you will, when you're questioning your self-worth, you never get as low as Tyler Clementi and the many others like him. Okay, Bailey, how do you find social media wellness? Here's the good news. The good news is that recognizing a problem is the first step to fixing it. So hearing this talk is just that. Step one, recognize the problem. Do you know the power of suggestion? When someone tells you about something and then you start seeing it everywhere. That's why awareness is critical, because now you will at least be better able to recognize these effects if and when they happen to you. The second thing you're going to do is audit your social media diet. The same way we monitor what goes into our mouth, monitor what goes into your head and heart. Ask yourself, did that Facebook scroll make me feel better or worse off? How many times do I actually check likes? Why am I responding this way to that photo? And then ask yourself if you're happy with the results. And you might be, and that's okay. But if you're not, move on to step 3. Create a better online experience. After my partner did his audit, he realized his self-worth was too tied up in social media, but particularly celebrities reminding him of the things he didn't have. So he unfollowed all brands and all celebrities. And that worked for him. But it might not be celebrities for you. For me, I had to purge other people off my timeline. So let me tell you a secret. You do not have to follow your friends. The truth is that sometimes our friends or the people we have on Facebook as a courtesy, they just suck online. You find yourself in the middle of this passive-aggressive status war you didn't even know was happening, or you're looking at 50 photos of the same concert from the same angle. If you want to follow artists or comedians or cats, you can do that. The last thing you're gonna do is model good behavior. Offline, we're taught not to bully other kids in the playground. We're taught to respect others and treat them how they deserve to be treated. We're taught not to kick others when they're down or take pleasure in their downfalls. Social media is a tool, and it's a tool that can be used for good, for more positive groups, for revolutions, for putting Grumpy Cat in Disney movies. I'll tell you, the internet is a weird place. So is social media hurting your mental health? The answer is it does not have to. Social can tear you down, yes, or it can lift you up, where you leave feeling better off, or have an actual laugh out loud. If I only have 24 hours in the day, if I'm gonna spend 2 of those hours on social media, then I prefer my experiences to be full of inspiration, laughs, motivation, and a whole lot of Grumpy Cat in Disney movies. Thank you.
So I think she brings up, I love when she says some people just suck online. I've got family members like that. And it's true, you don't have to follow them. I know it can give, there's ways to block people so that they don't know you're unfollowing. There's, like she says, there's ways to purge your accounts and create a happier environment. So I kind of want to open up for a chat. I know some people maybe can't write in, but please unmute yourself and share or write in the chat. How can we create a more positive experience online? What are your ideas? Even if you aren't on social media, you use the internet somehow, your email. How do you control your email better? How do you prevent yourself from being addicted to scrolling your email through? So we would love to kind of see what some ideas popped up for you to kind of create that healthier internet environment. I never emotionally respond. That's good. Be a good example, treating others in a positive way. Yep. Does anybody know how to set limits? I have mine go off after I've used it for over an hour, which sadly happens more than I'd like to admit. Follow requests. If anybody is, I was of the era of the very first year of Facebook. And the amount of friends I have no idea who they are, is a little frightening. So purging your Facebook friend account is always a concept. That takes a lot of time. Not follow, yeah. Don't negative, yep. Yep, deleting accounts is huge.
The #1 pediatrician recommended brand helps keep baby's skin drier and healthier, so every touch will protect.
Oh,
Is it
that's
okay
a
to
good
speak?
one. Yes, of course, please.
Okay. I guess I've been on almost as long as Facebook's been around too, I suppose. And I'm a former teacher, right? And a former teacher of government and politics. So you can imagine the amount of former students and friends in general that want to engage in political discussions and whatnot. And the polarization has never been greater. I don't think it's unbelievably extremist for a lot of the time. So what I try to do to mitigate a lot of that is to, if there is a point that someone is making, I simply ask for verification. Where did you get that information from? Please share that with me so that I may make an educated, intelligent response of some matter. And whenever I respond to you, I'm going to show you where I got this data, this economic data, this unemployment data, this, whatever data I'm going to show. I'm going to show you where this is what's really happening, because there's your opinion, which I want to value, but I can't unless you're going to give me some context. So I think social media almost erases context. I can think whatever I want to think about what you just posted, but unless I know it, because I post a lot of things all the time and I share a lot of things, doesn't mean I believe in every word. I believe in something about it, but not every possible thing about it. So I think it erases context. So adding context to the why of the post is important for some people. So those are things I think that would create a more positive experience online. Just give me the why and be rational and give me some data, give me some concrete evidence. Then we won't have the extremists. That's
right. And it really comes down to not being emotional, right? Like we've gotten to the fact where we have this alter ego online and we can just emotionally respond. And like you said, where's the time to take the rationality and post what's factual? We're going to talk a little bit. I'm not going to go too much in detail, but if anybody hasn't seen Social Dilemma on Instagram or on Netflix, I'm going to encourage you all to watch that before the next session or the next part 2 that we're going to have. It is eye-opening, and they go much deeper into why there is this separation and how social media has played a huge role in that, and how the AI and the algorithms have contributed to that. It's so the data that Ellen was just speaking of earlier, they dig into the why, like how did that happen? How successful these businesses were in programming us to be part of this is scary, but also we need to know it, because I do think, like we're speaking today, there's things that we can do to prevent us from going down these rabbit holes. For example, next slide, Sierra, says strategies for helping social media. So this is just a start. Evaluating your why. You know, like if you're spending a lot of time on social media, why? I've noticed it's because I'm not busy. You know, like what else could I be doing? I need to, put my phone down and get up and go do something different. Or am I lonely or bored? Emotions after spending time on social media, how do you feel? I remember in the political heightness of, there were times I'd get off and be like, what am I doing? I've got to get off my phone because it was affecting me more than I would love to admit. Tailor your experience to be uplifting. I did that. I shifted. My Instagram is full of animals because that's what makes me happy. And it worked, it definitely helped. Looking for responsible news sources. I found one that I follow and that's all I follow. Looking for healthy replacements. So what can you do to get off your phone? Can you go for a walk? Can you, the next one, schedule real life friends. Now that we're kind of getting out of this isolation period, how can we reconnect in real life and not digitally? Limit your social media. So I definitely turned on some restrictions on my phone. You can go so deep in this. It's also really important for parents to know the different types of things you can do with your kids' phones and turning time off. And there are some great psychologists and counselors out there that give you great ideas. And the Social Dilemma does follow a lot of this and gives a lot of great ideas. And then implement that social media detox. So if you're on social media, go through it, like scroll through your following and go ahead and get rid of the ones like, you know what, every time I follow them, I just feel bad about myself, or I don't like the way I look, or, it makes me upset. So think about removing them. Great participation, guys. Thanks for your feedback. Okay, so after talking about that and kind of reading what people posted, and Kristen, thank you so much for sharing that. I think you're spot on. Can we write one commitment right now? And if you can't think of it, don't worry about it. But if you're willing to share that in the chat box with us right now. We'll take like a minute, or write it down next to you. Write it in your phone. Speaking of using our technology endlessly. But what could potentially be a commitment you have for your own social media usage. I'll tell you, after I watched Social Dilemma, I mean, I'm really close to deleting it all. And I use my social media a lot for business. So it's hard. It's really, really hard. But there are techniques out there and we're going to touch on them. Does anybody want to share? I will never get on. Great, great. 1 hour in the morning, yep. A really good one I heard was just don't ever bring your phone in the bedroom. I thought that was a really good one.
I think the hard part about that, CJ, is I also used it for my alarm clock.
Yeah.
We got to go back to buying alarm clocks.
Yes, we really should. Or you put your phone across the room so you have to get up to turn the alarm off. All right. So be thinking about that. We'll move on and you can add if you come up with something good. But we're going to go into breakout rooms a little bit. If you can't turn your video on, that's fine. Just try to participate. It's a very short time just to kind of bring up these concepts and these ideas. And I think the more we share, the broader our brain grows and the more we're able to vision kind of changes that need to happen. So we're going to go into 4 different conversations. We're going to put a Jamboard. If you haven't done a Jamboard, it's really easy. It's kind of a virtual piece of paper that everybody can write on. And there's 4 questions. We're going to do, how often are students using social media in your classroom? And what grade levels? What challenges do you experience with social media in the classroom? The concerns. I'm sorry. I skipped a slide. We're going to start transitioning into the classroom. So how social media is affecting us in the classroom. And we're going to go over these questions, the concerns we have about students using social media, and what SEL strategies are you using in the classroom for social media use. So if you are in the classroom, I think this is a great idea. If you work with students even outside the classroom, it's good concepts to pass along. And after we're going to share out a couple ideas and see what people come up with. I think you're going to realize that we all align and we're all experiencing the same issues in the classroom. So it's really interesting. I'd love to see the participation. So Sierra, if you could, it's not added. Okay, so in the chat is the Jamboard, and we're going to go ahead and split people up into breakout rooms. Sorry, guys. Okay. So thank you all for participating. It looks like we've got some good stuff. I wanted to kind of take a few minutes to go through and share these out loud. So if you were somebody that put them in and you want to share, that's awesome. Please unmute yourself and share. But I'm just going to kind of read through and we can take time kind of evaluating these. So how often are students using social media in your classroom? What are the grade levels? I see a lot of no cell phones are allowed. However, we all know that they're going around that. So it's like, man, how do you beat it? Smartwatches, your Chromebooks, like they all have found ways to still communicate within the classroom with each other, send memes, kind of things like that. You can kind of tell because students, there'll be this mass conversation or information that everybody is a part of. So, you know, what's this say? Oh, on the next, so the large sticky note's supposed to go on 2, okay. Very little use in elementary, that's encouraging. Middle school gets a little more, but high school students want to use it on their phones constantly, yeah. And then adults, like we're not much better. I speak guilty as charged, you know. Sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? I've got to put this down. Students in secondary level use technology quite a bit. Social media, yep. Students try to use as often as possible. Anybody have anything to share about how often they're seeing it? Okay, I'm gonna read this. Students are using Snapchat and Instagram regularly, TikTok as well. Students making up accounts, taking pictures of other teachers and students and destroying, yeah. So the next one are, what challenges do you experience with social media? So bullying, basically. Previous, our students are unengaged and distracted. Yep, take a back seat. An inside joke seems to spread like wildfire. Memes and jokes are shared quick. Bullying, teasing. Yep. So obviously we can see that, and I think this kind of goes into our next one. If you're not part of it, then you're left out, right? You're an outcast. So concerns we have about students using social media, the negative and anonymity of positive things online, so, or negative things online. So you get to play this mask, you know, years before social media, if you had a problem with somebody and you needed to say it, it was said to the face, or it was a little bit more in reality, and now you can kind of hide behind an online presence, which isn't teaching our students how to communicate appropriately. Unawareness and inexperience with social media, adults are behaving behind the ball. Yeah, and we're not being very good examples either, I think. I think a lot of these students are watching adults act this way. It is hard to regulate. Advertisements are terrible. It plays all into that algorithm. It's kind of scary to think that there's like this alter ego or this AI behind our phones that's basically regulating what we see and controlling what we see, and pushing us in a direction of what it thinks we want to see, to control how we purchase things and how we buy. It's very scary. Yeah. Anybody want to share on concerns?
I just have a question.
We'll
It says this, I'm sorry,
yeah.
It says the spiral using of SM is toxic, but if you don't use it, you are left out and an outcast. So forgive my ignorance. I don't know what SM is.
Social media.
Oh, just social media. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
See,
yeah.
I'm thinking already I am like instant messaging. Like I'm thinking along that line. And so obviously I'm SM. What?
Yeah, I think
okay. Social media.
What we're trying to say is, yeah, there's just, if you're not part of it, you're an outcast. So these students feel like, if I don't participate, then I'm not part of anything. So that's just a spiral. Good question. What SEL strategies are you using in the classroom for social media? I think this is really new. So if anybody has a good one, please share. I came up with an idea. I've never implemented it, but I almost thought, and we're going to kind of participate in this and provide this opportunity, but what if you had in kind of that idea of, if you can't beat them, join them, and I mean this in a different way, but having up on your board like social media platform to follow, and you just are constantly trying to show students good platforms to follow, educational platforms to follow, happy, motivating leadership. So you're encouraging that purge, right? Like that would be a strategy to use in the classroom. I can't wait to see using YouTube to look at physical activities like yoga. I do this with my 3 and 4 year old. We do it all the time. We do Spider-Man yoga. It's great. Use of meditation apps, great. Training of how to use social media, digital, and citizenship, nice. Alternative applications such as Closed Gap, Google Forms, yep. Those are important to know how to use. My lessons all on Google Classroom. Have a conversation about how to be respectful online. So I'm so sorry, who I forgot was in our group, had an actual live conversation with their class about what it means to be respectful online. And just because you're behind a virtual wall doesn't mean you can just say whatever you want. It should be the same as if you were in person. So having those real life conversations is super important. Does anybody have any other ones? Well, I just want to say thank you guys for participating. I think that's really neat. And as we can see, it's an issue, and it's something that we as educators and as parents and everybody is really going to have to put a little bit more effort into controlling this, or it's really going to take over. Sierra, we can go back to the slides. So just a few more statistics to look at before we kind of move on. Pew Research Center reports that 95% of teens have access to a smartphone. That's a lot. 45% say they are almost constantly on the internet. And the CDE reports 1 in 3 high school students had experienced persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness in 2019. So that's even pre-pandemic, 40% increase since 2009. So I can't remember, but Facebook went from college use, just college, to everyone, I think around that time. So maybe a little bit before. So that's when really the world was getting on social media. So that's really interesting. The next slide are a couple resources. And so we talk a little bit about the social dilemma that I mentioned on Netflix. Like I said, I really think it's an important documentary. They do interview some of the top CEOs, presidents, people that have all participated in Google, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, they interviewed, and they were very honest about their original intentions and what it's gotten us today and how it all works. And it's very eye-opening. I found it very interesting that all of them don't allow their kids on social media. So if that says something, I don't know what else could. So I encourage everybody to watch that if you can before the next film. There's a worksheet that we're going to share too, so you can kind of evaluate where you are before and see where you are after. We at GSN also have middle school and high school protecting your privacy units. We are opening these up for free, so please use them. They'll give you some concepts to have conversations in your classroom, how to practice safety on the internet, making sure you're talking to who you think you're talking to, things that you can also share with parents. Empowering Education also has a mindful social media blog, and we have a great little article right here. Again, when you receive the follow-up email, all these links will be live and you can access all of these. Finally, there is a great article on strategies or help your student develop SEL skills. They'll need to navigate the digital world. So bringing SEL, so when we have those conversations about how do you have appropriate conversations online? How are you respectful? How do you make decisions? How do you not engage? That's a great article to kind of read through and have conversations with your students. This is the Social Dilemma worksheet. So this is before you watch Social Dilemma. If you are somebody that wants to show your students and you get some permission, this would be your pre, and then the next slide is going to be your post. And so the role of thinking what social media plays, it's eye-opening to see what people really know is the reality. They even show a clip of one of the big CEOs' kid is interviewed, and they're like, oh, I probably only spend 30 minutes to an hour on social media. But when you go into your phone, you can see how much time you actually spend, and it'll give you an average of what you're spending on social media. And it was like 3 to 4 hours. So I think we all don't even know how much we are actually going on and scrolling and just kind of mind numb from it. So that's kind of a neat practice.
Alrighty. So thanks so much, CJ, for leading us in just kind of exploring what this looks like in the classroom and resources that we can kind of get started with. So just a quick reminder that for next week, we are going to dive in more to discussing opportunities around social media in classrooms, strategies that you can utilize. There's also some really interesting neuroscience around the addiction of social media and what our teens are facing. A few of you had mentioned in the Jamboard that there's some anxiety, there's depression, there's some mental health challenges that are a result of our teens using social media. So that we'll dive into that further next week as well. On the next slide, this just shows that we're going to kind of break up the CASEL 5 core competencies. So those 5 SEL competencies on the wheel to the left there, we're going to kind of take each of those piece by piece and talk about how that relates to social media use and how it sort of shows up in our classroom and with our students. And then this next slide just shows you the 2 speakers that we're going to have, again from CU Denver. We're really excited that we're going to be able to have both of them share their work with us. I'll drop a quick link in the chat for everyone to sign up. This will just make sure that we have your emails and we can send that calendar invite to you all if you're able to attend. If not, if you're not able to attend, go ahead and fill out that RSVP link anyways, so that you still can receive the recording in the slide deck afterwards. And then to close this out, I mentioned this in the chat, but we would love to get your feedback on part 1 today. And we'll also be capturing your email in that feedback survey. So that's a great way for us to directly send you the slide deck, the recording and certificate from today. So if you have a moment to fill that out, please do. We really appreciate your feedback. We always want to improve our forums and make them the best that they possibly can be. And then CJ has one other little item for us that we're going to share out. So go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to have a takeaway for you all, something that you can start using in hopefully your efforts to purge social media, potentially even your email or whatever you use, and to also maybe move into the classroom and encourage your students. So if you could click on the link, Sierra, we're going to share this link. Once you're done with the feedback survey, if you want to spend some time in, we'd love to know what positive accounts you follow. I kind of set it up so you can choose age appropriate, because we all know that some things are adult appropriate, even though it still promotes positivity or encouragement. But I broke it up into some popular categories: funny influencers, sports, animals, food, celebrities, inspirational quotes, news education, things that you follow that you just are like, man, this is so good, or usually leave with a positive note or a smile on your face or encouragement, or something that you're like, oh, I really want so-and-so. If it's an account that you often share with other people, we would love to create just a concept or a kind of a tool here for people to kind of start purging those accounts and filling their accounts with positivity and taking away some of those the negative accounts or the accounts that make you kind of second guess yourself. Or so it's just a tool. Please hop in here and share what you want. Please make it appropriate and kind of follow kind of those guidelines of what we're doing. And then what we'll do is we'll share this out with you guys, and you guys can use it as you want, and kind of vet through some of these platforms and see if they're ones you want to follow, or you want to encourage somebody else to follow, or if you want to encourage your students to start purging, you could start putting suggestions on the board for them to start following. So just another tool.
Okay, so here is our contact information. If you have any questions or want to reach out afterwards, we are both available. I'm happy to talk to you about if you have questions around social emotional learning curriculum, around some of the resources that we shared today. And we'll just kind of hang out for a few more minutes here. I know we added a few things to the chat box, so we just want to make sure you all have access to those links. Again, please fill out that feedback survey if you're able. We'll have your emails to share out the follow-up materials afterwards. And then, yeah, we'll just be kind of hanging out if you have any other questions or things you want to chat about before we close out for today. But hopefully we'll see all of you next week, next Thursday from 4 to 5:30 Mountain Standard Time. Hope to see you there.
Thanks for participating, everyone. Kevin, yes,
Thank
the
you.
links will be all embedded. Thank you.
Thank you.
The links will be embedded in the email, so you'll be able to access all of these. Thanks, everyone. You too, Kevin. Thanks, A. Brown. Thanks, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca. Thank you. All right, maybe give it one more minute and then I'll close this out.
Is it okay just to screenshot it?
Oh, the social media account part.
All right, I think I'm gonna close this out. Thanks, CJ. Thanks, Sierra, so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, ladies. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk soon.